This is Christina Barr. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about another unhinged segment from MSNBC. Yesterday, we were talking about Morning Joe and saying that they were saying that Trump would execute people and all kinds of different stuff, which didn't make any sense. And we went through that. And today we got a clip of them thinking that he's worse than Hitler. And I know people have called him Hitler before, but worse than Hitler. Also, there was a big announcement for the DeSantis camp, an Iowa sort of kingmaker, at least as people are dubbing him. Bob Vander Plaats endorsed him for president of the United States. And instead of Trump being like, it doesn't matter, I'm so far ahead in the polls, he has launched this brigade of accusations that DeSantis paid for the endorsement. So I want to go through those allegations and explain why that doesn't, in my opinion, holds a lot of water. And I find, disappointing and distasteful. But hey, it is what it is. Just another day in the world of politics. But before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys, go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles and videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. It does cost a stream and run my website, so and all that stuff, so you guys can support in that way. I very much do appreciate you. You guys can check out different merchandise that we have available at blacktnews.com, like different t-shirts and mugs and so on. And let me just pop up a few. So you guys know, we got pro-life stuff, we got mugs, we got the shirt here that says "My money, my business," because people are like, "That's not your business." I'm like, "Are you using my taxpayer dollars?" So I kind of think it's my business if it involves my money. So that's why I made that shirt. I got this cool Frederick Douglass shirt and different stuff you guys can check out at blacktnews.com. If you're interested in anything for Christmas time for someone, as long as you order it before December the 10th, it should be able to get there before Christmas. So please consider that. And also check out my different books that I have available at Black Tea News. Well, if you go to blacktnews.com and go to the merchandise page, there's a banner. It will take you to my book website. But if you just search my name on Amazon, you'll be able to find it. Hello in the chats. I see you guys. Thank you for starting to roll in. I apologize, I'm a little bit late, but thank you guys for hopping in, and thank you to those of you who watch it back. One of my books you guys can check out is, of course, Guys Blatantly Against Abortion. That is available on Amazon, so please go ahead and check it out. It's also available on Barnes & Nobles. You guys can get a paperback, you guys can get an ebook. I don't have any audiobooks yet, but maybe I will record something before like Christmas time, especially since now I am like over the hump. It feels I got still a little bit of congestion in here, but I feel better than I have in the past week or so. So I think I'll be not gross by the time we have Thanksgiving tomorrow. I hope you guys have good plans for you and your families for Thanksgiving, that your conversations about politics will be light and not disastrous, but you'll be persuasive and firm in your beliefs and bring people to ethics and virtue and all that kind of stuff. And some people will be like, you shouldn't be discussing that kind of stuff. If your type of family is a type of family where it will just blow up into a crazy kind of argument, then to salvage your holiday and keep peace, it's probably best to be strategic about different conversations that you have. But I'm very blessed that essentially my family, we all pretty much, at least my immediate family, pretty much all see eye to eye on politics. We might have like a favorite person we sort of prefer, in a primary or something like that. But most of us, we're pretty much on the same page. So I'm very blessed. Now if I go outside to like cousins and aunties and uncles and stuff, then there's a couple people that love to argue um about that kind of stuff. But I'm very good at what I do, I guess. So I'm not ever worried about it. I'm not ever worried about it. But I'm not always like head first to argue with folks all the time. You got to know who you're talking to, and I guess you guys know your family better than I do. But don't let someone bully you on a particularly a virtuous position. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy your Thanksgiving holidays. On a side note, just want to put this out there. I saw someone on Twitter say that, dear Southern people, it's called stuffing, not dressing. And I I know people call it stuffing. I didn't know if it was a regional thing, but I'm from Michigan, so I'm from the north, and we call it dressing in my house. So if anyone has any opinion, feel free to weigh in. But yeah, we call it dressing. I know other people call it stuffing, but we definitely call it dressing. I don't like it either way personally. That's not my mom apparently makes really good dressing, but I just it's not my thing. It's not my thing. Um anyway, on a more serious note, there appears to be have been a terrorist attack today um in between the border of the US and Canada, like up near Niagara Falls, like on the Rainbow Bridge or near the bridge. I don't have much intel on it. I'm just seeing some reports. This is kind of new breaking stuff. So the men who were driving the cars, there's two men and apparently they're dead. So they're and allegedly, for what I'm hearing, there was explosives. So I don't know much more than that. I'm sorry if there's some details that are kind of wobbly from what I said, but that's appears to be what's kind of leaking out right now. So I'll try to have an eye on that. But obviously, people who watch this later will probably know more about it than I do um, as the stuff is coming out. So just really be thankful if when you do have Thanksgiving and you're around the people that you love. There's a lot of people who whether in Gaza or in Israel, in other places in the world, they're not with their family. People are torn away from their loved ones by war, illness, other things. We had a well, my sister did share it on social media, and you guys could see I was a bit upset last week. My sister did have a bit of a scare after she had her baby, but she's okay now. Um, so just be thankful to be with who you're with, to be around your family this Thanksgiving, because there's a lot of people who are not with their loved ones. So, but while you were with them, pray for this nation, pray for the world, for our safety and for peace. But I don't see that happening in the long run. Of course, we'll have more war. Of course, we'll have more death. Of course, we'll have other scares. But you just gotta, I guess, pray for peace that passeth all understanding, and pray for disaster to avert you for as long as it can, and for wisdom. So anyway, let's get to this McCaskill situation first. On MSNBC. So yesterday I talked about Morning Joe going off about Trump and how he's going to arrest people and execute people. And the only thing that stopped, we know his character, we know what he's done in the past. And the only thing that stopped him was the federal judicial system and stuff. The one that Joe Biden keeps trying to undermine every time they stop him from getting his way, by the way. You know, I mentioned how some of the January 6 people who were arrested and are, got the book thrown at them for like non-violent offenses and stuff. But they've been arresting like pro-life people, pastors, and outside of clinics, and they weaponize the DOJ. There's the asking for the Patriot Act to be used against these parents at these school board meetings, and lots of things that we could say to point the finger at how radical the Democrats are and Joe Biden is. And thank God that we have robust systems and institutions, but it's very clear that people are trying to tear them apart. Like when people want to pack the courts, that's not because they respect the institution so much. It's because they want they want to stack it in their favor so they can start dismantling a lot of things and legislating from the bench. So obviously they're full of it, and we know that Trump didn't mass arrest political people as soon as he got elected. Before he was even in office, he wanted to drop the Hillary Clinton lock her up stuff. He's like, it was fine on the campaign trail, but it's over now. So do I think Trump is gonna just wreak revenge if he gets reelected and ends up back at the White House? No. And he's in a lot more vulnerable position because he is a lame duck. And again, what happens if they just simply impeach him again? They're obviously not afraid to do it, and some might say a third time is a charm. So just really, really off the rails, crazy stuff. That perhaps, Joy Reid saying something like that, you could be like, well, that's crazy, but gosh, Joy, but come on, Joe, like, really? But maybe perhaps he still feels guilty for his role to play with Trump's rise to power, because they were very footsie with Trump as he was a candidate. But this here from a former senator tops the craziness that we talked about yesterday.
A lot of people have tried to draw similarities between Mussolini and Hitler and the use of the terminology like vermin and the drive that those men had towards autocracy and dictatorship. The difference, though, I think makes Donald Trump even more dangerous, and that is he has no philosophy he believes in. He is not trying to expand the boundaries of the United States of America. He's not trying to overcome a neighboring country like Putin is in Ukraine. He is not going for some grandiose scheme of international dominance. All he wants is to look in the mirror and see a guy who's president. All he cares about is selfish self-promotion. That's the only philosophy he has, which makes him even more dangerous, because he has actually said out loud that it would be okay to terminate the Constitution to keep him in power. He said this. He actually said those words. And the irony is all of these supposed conservative folks that have populated the Republican Party all stood around and with their thumb in their mouth going, well, yeah, okay, I guess so. It's bizarre.
So what she said was pretty bizarre. So it's like, what do you mean Trump is more dangerous because he doesn't have any sort of ideals or anything like that? Isn't the fact that Hitler had like an ideology, about his master race and the intention to fulfill that, and the eugenics and all, isn't that the thing that made him pretty bad, especially since he had, he was persuasive and he had the power and the influence to manipulate and rise to power and to make that, genocide happen. And he's not worse than Trump, who, upset you guys because he won and appointed some justices you don't like. Like, and you could say, well, January 6th, January 6th was a riot and was awful and it was terrible. There's a lot of things that happened. Like I said, happened in 2021, but 2020 was a pretty crazy year, and there was a lot of Democrats egging it on when people were burning down cities, and even if like Trump wanted to like arrest people on federal lands, they're like, they're kidnapping people. they were very encouraging of the craziness, because I think at the end of the day, they wanted to do anything to stop Trump, including the shutdown of the world, the world, the transferring of wealth, which Trump, played a significant role in that as well. So you can't give him a pass on that. But there were plenty of interviews though with Democrats, like I think Wimmer said something to that effect, and Gavin Newsom, like, hey, there's this pandemic, we can basically take advantage and get a lot of the things that we want done. And prior to the pandemic, the Democrats were very worried because the economy was really good, and they're like, "Oh, there's going to be a recession. Oh, there's going to be a recession. Oh, there'll be a recession. Don't worry, the economy's it's gonna fall. It's gonna fall." And it was just going strong. And then the pandemic happened, and then of course the economy came to a grinding halt. So, um, I I don't get why people are so afraid. I understand why they pretend to be so afraid of Trump. But it's far more concerning what people are trying to achieve as far as undermining our institutions and gaining power, that they have the competence and the means to make it happen through the other power that they've already seized. um Back when Obama was president, in the election time, he was mocking Trump because Trump was saying, "Oh, elections rigged," and etc. And I think at that point in time, well, full disclosure, Trump says just about anything is rigged if he's losing. He said that about the Emmys. He said that about um the Iowa caucus when he lost to Ted Cruz. It is a pattern, just FYI. But I think at that point in time, he was talking about how he was being treated in the media and stuff, and not people like preparing to stuff ballots or something at that point. At least that was my kind of an assumption of when Trump was using that language on the campaign trail in 2016. And so Obama was laughing about it. It's just like, our system is so complex. It's not, in internalized on the federal level. Like, people run that locally. So it's not easy, and it's darn well kind of impossible to rig an election like that. And then of course Trump won. And then there was the whole Russia, narrative. It was so annoying doing the recounts and stuff. I actually had to be a part of it. So thanks everyone who really, really wanted there to be one. It sucked, and there was no pathway for Jill Stein, aka Hillary Clinton, to somehow win. But thanks for wasting our time. I really enjoyed my vacation being ruined. Thanks. And I was like, Russia rigged our election, Russia rigged our election, Russia, all the Russia hoax stuff to undermine the incoming president, to undermine the faith that the American people could have in not only the president but also our institutions. So that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. But Democrats also tried to make moves to do things to federalize our elections more. And I'm like, okay, Obama once said that our institutions are safer because they're not so federalized. And now you guys want to pass some bills to, override some of the states and what they do on election day. I'm like, that's a little weird. That's a little suspicious. I mentioned yesterday, about how Joe Biden will undermine the courts. He'll do something specifically that he doesn't have power to do. And when the courts shut him down, they're like, this is a rogue court. And he continuously keeps doing that. A lot of people feel that way. They do things all the time to undermine our institutions. Joe Biden has, talked about Americans, the MAGA people, how extreme they are, and MAGA Republicans. The definition can be like, they believe at life and conception. Like, they it's not a crazy person who's I don't know, wearing like the hat guy in the American war paint or something, and having a and if they had like an AR-15 strapped to them and a Trump flag waving it in a wild storm, like that's not the idea of a MAGA extremist. You could just be like someone with normal views that just differ from Joe Biden's, and you'll get labeled that way. Um, they've done a lot of things to undermine our faith in institutions, but Trump is very clumsy in the things that he wants to do many times. So he I being a threat to on the extreme side of comparing him to Hitler, knowing what Hitler did is bonkers. And to the note of Trump doesn't have an ideology, he's she said he's selfish and he um focuses on what he wants stuff. Well, he is very self-centered, but he wants America is his country, and he does love the US, and many of the things that he thinks about the US are centered around his view of it, I suppose. Like, he doesn't like getting ripped off. He doesn't want the US to get ripped off. So that's why he's always complaining about trade deals and how much money we're spending and NATO and other stuff, and how other people aren't pulling their weight. He doesn't want to see the US ripped off in bad deals and other stuff like that. So I mean, he likes to appear strong. He wants America to be strong. He likes to make deals. He wants to make deals. So a lot of like his personality and things what he wants for himself translates and has done well for the US. Overall, he wasn't a bad president. He actually did a pretty good job. Of course, I didn't like how he left office. The tweet that she referenced with it suspending the Constitution, there's a lot of ways that people have translated that. I never found one that was really great. Like this idea of like just rip it up, I'm the king or something, like it's me. I don't think it's anything like that. So to refresh your memory, so with the revelation of massive and widespread fraud and deception and working closely with big tech companies, the DNC and the Democrat Party, do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner? Or do you have a new election? A massive fraud of this type of magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and did not condone false and fraudulent elections. So I I don't I'm assuming the point here is that they would not have wanted a election that was obviously stolen to go to the losers, and there has to be some kind of reworking of the rules that we figure out to reconcile what has happened. Um, but it wasn't a great tweet. I'm not gonna try to defend it more than that. Um, he creates a lot of issues, his own problems and stuff, and he still maintains that he won the election, and so there's been people within his circle who've admitted, like through the January 6th committees, that they've said no, that he had lost or there was no more avenues to pursue, like that he kept pursuing legally. They Jason Miller, who's again with his campaign, had testified that his data guy told him that he was going to lose the election just based on the data that they had, looking at the incoming data from the counties and other stuff like that. So but that I have not heard anyone say that they heard Trump himself admit that he himself actually lost the election. So he sees, 2,000 mules and other stuff like that. And there was a DNC. Um, uh, well, there's the Twitter files that came out. I think that's about maybe the time when this tweet that she referenced came out, and suppressing of different information, like the Hunter Biden laptop and other things like that, that the Twitter files reported. Say I like to say that he legitimately lost a rigged election. That's how I would put it. All these levers of power they're working against him, but other people are like, no, they switch vote tallies and stuff, the ballots with fake ballots and other stuff like that. Wasn't a great tweet. I'm not gonna. I don't think he should have wrote that. So, but Hitler, really? Hitler, Mr. Concentration Camps, Hitler. Yeah, I was thinking after I heard that, I called my sister up today because I remember seeing a meme one time about chaotic good and neutral, chaotic good and lawful evil and other stuff like that. I think it had like Trump is chaotic good and Hillary Clinton is lawful evil and other stuff like that. And so I don't know. I thought it was some kind of deep philosophical sort of thing. And I looked it up and I was like, it's D&D. So she plays D&D. So I called her. I was like, you know about chaotic goodness? She's like, it's D&D. And so we just started talking about, Trump, and I'm like, well, what's a better worldview and stuff? And she started talking about the game and other things like that. I'm like, that'll probably be like an interesting stream or something to actually talk about who fits in what sort of camp, I guess. But and so she started going through the definitions because I just kind of assumed that Trump would fit more into the chaotic good panel, I guess. And she read it, and we're like, okay, I don't know if he quite fits. And I think it was more like a chaotic neutral is what we kind of decided from our short conversation thinking about it. Biden, I would say, is a chaotic evil. I think Hillary Clinton would be like a lawful evil. And just, top of my head, having a conversation with her. But yeah, everyone painting Trump like he's some kind of a super villain. John Bolton, he was January 6th. He's like, this isn't a coup. I know about coups. Like, we've staged coups. Like, Trump, he didn't launch a coup. It was some that really got out of hand. I would say they had like different things they wanted to accomplish, but was it some kind of mastermind thing at the end of the day where that he literally thought that he lost the election, but he was going to overcome all the odds and force himself to, be the president. Everyone, screw you, what your opinion is. There is no like scenario where Trump's some kind of mastermind, like, twiddling his mustache or something. It just doesn't exist. And I agree, he doesn't have much of a like, people were comparing him to the president who just won in like Argentina, and like he's a libertarian like Trump. People were like, please don't call Trump a libertarian. He's not libertarian. And I wouldn't say that Trump is very conservative. And Trump at times will say he's just a common sense guy. He doesn't have some kind of deep philosophical. I mean, I guess you could, populist is maybe the best way you could maybe put it or something. But he just does what's right by him, I guess. But is that worse than Hitler having an idea of the master race and murdering people, putting Jews in ovens and experimenting on folks and all that stuff? World conquest. I'm sorry, I just can't. I can't jump on that train with you. And even if you're talking on MSNBC, it's pretty, I don't know, scary to me that there are senators that think that. And it's just crazy. But anything for clicks, anything for views, I guess. Because I hope deep down people are not that entirely deranged, that they would genuinely believe this and think that. But there are people with extreme TDS. It made me think of Sam Harris. So I want to go back in time a little bit, listen to some clips of some things that he said Sam Harris, who's a lot of people's favorite new atheist, has extreme TDS. So he said the stuff back in 2020, which he was on a trigonometry podcast and said that he wouldn't have cared if there were corpses of dead children in Hunter Biden's basement. Like, he still would think that anything they could find or do would be worse than Trump. And he said nothing that Joe Biden has done is even worse than like Trump University. And I'm like, what kind of weirdo twisted sense of morality can you get? And he also said he didn't mind that there was a conspiracy to stop Trump from being president, as far as like the social media companies being censored, and influenced by the federal government to shut down the stories of like the Hunter Biden laptop. Like, he knew like it's a conspiracy, but he didn't mind the conspiracy because he thought overall that it was important enough to stop Trump. And so my question is, what happens when your institutions are so corrupt that it can act in such a way to stop someone like that? Because what happens when you just get someone who's kind of evil, but they agree with some of your policies that you like and they want it through, and then all the levers of power are on that side too. So the thing about Trump is, like, there's still a lot of checks with Trump. Our system itself, people who will like the Republican Party will do a bunch of infighting itself when there's something that they don't like. Yeah, there's a lot of Trump sycophants out there, and we'll talk about that later today. But he had a lot of opposition, even within the people that he would hire. That's why he fired a lot of people and hired people back and stuff. But he got sued a lot. Obama got sued a lot. There's checks and balances there. But if it gets to the point when all of our systems are aligned with an ideology and they've basically stomped out their weak-willed opposition that we'll call the Republicans, what the heck happens to our country from there? So it's not a good thing that the federal government like conspired with the social media platforms to get Joe Biden elected, and they suppressed something that they knew was true and made it seem like it was not only false, but it was disinformation from a nuclear power. I think that's kind of a big deal to just kind of put the blame on a foreign country and accuse them of interfering in our elections in such a significant way. That seems kind of bad, but apparently it's okay. It's justifying the means of people like Sam Harris. But anyway, I want to he said something about Trump and Osama bin Laden and also Hitler. So I want to play that. Just go back in time. I don't know if there's I know Sam Harris like quit Twitter, and I don't know. I think he's maybe trying to gain some self-semblance back, but he still has some bad takes, man. Really bad takes.
But Osama bin Laden as a person, is far more understandable to me and far less reprehensible personally, psychologically, than Trump. And
I think the way people, and this is just a guess,
but Osama bin Laden is as a person.
So that's only a little snippet. But here's a snippet of him talking about Trump and Hitler.
They just, compare him to Hitler. Hitler is worse, but the things that actually make Hitler worse are actually virtues, right? I mean, like courage and a commitment to something beyond yourself, right? Like if you add those, in generic virtues to an otherwise malevolent asshole, well, then he becomes a more competent, more self-sacrificing, malevolent asshole, right?
So, malevolent is such a strong word. I know people have different views about Trump. Malevolent though, petty to the bone, absolutely, but malevolent. And the I and again with the Hitler thing, I think there are things that are worse about Hitler than courage. These are the serious thinkers, guys. These are the serious thinkers. Maybe you guys should just leave the praising of the genocidal maniacs, alone. Anyway, we'll move on. I see some people in the chat. Someone's from New York. Hope I don't know what part of the country New York you're from. New York's pretty big, but hope everything's okay. I know there was, again, I said at the top of the hour there was an attack, a terrorist attack, but I didn't think there was any I'm not sure if anyone was hurt or not. Someone said, "Thank you for sharing your voice, and that lipstick is yummy. Thank you very much." I actually need to go. This is like the last bit that I have, so I'm gonna have to go get some different shades today or tomorrow. Well, probably today because tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and I don't want to shop on Black Friday. I don't really want to do that. So moving on, there was a pretty big announcement for Ron DeSantis the other day, who's the governor of Florida. He's running for president against Donald Trump. He's considered to be the number two. Other people he is number two in the polls and stuff. Nikki Haley, of course, is running. Vivek Ramaswamy. They're the ones with the most next to Trump. But I think it's really it's either going to be Trump or it's going to be Ron DeSantis. Most likely at this point, it looks like it will be Trump. But Bob Vander Plaats, who is an evangelical leader in Iowa, has decided to endorse DeSantis. So I'm going to play a little video that actually this is the thing that the DeSantis people put out.
About the money thing. This is, I think, from a Reuters.
All right, that's the wrong video.
He's been called the Iowa caucus kingmaker, and he's here to tell us who's getting his endorsement this cycle.
First of all, Vander Plaats has a history here in Iowa of supporting the eventual caucus winner.
Bob Vander Plaats. He's a kingmaker out there.
You have that Midas touch of picking and getting the winner.
I'm thrilled to throw my personal endorsement and support behind Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida. Governor DeSantis took a reliable toss-up state in Florida and made it complete red, won by 20 points, won in demographics that we haven't won. He's also done that by being a bold and courageous leader. I think DeSantis is making the case. I think Governor Reynolds' endorsement of Ron DeSantis is a key play in the state of Iowa. He was very clear about we need a president who can serve 2 terms, not 1 term. We're trying to find the best person who can win the nomination and then win the general election and lead for America. Someone who's actually going to do what they say they're going to do. And I just think he's got the spine to do it. And I think he's got the experience to win for us.
That's what the DeSantis war room put out after the Plaats announcement. So on a side note, I don't know how much I like people bragging like, oh, it's the kingmaker. Oh, he's well, mine is such. Oh, like that kind of braggadocious stuff about him. I don't know. That doesn't appeal to me, I guess. And I don't know how it's supposed to make everyone feel other than break the idea that Trump is invincible. And the only way you're going to break that idea is if you just manage to get the win. That's the only way that you're going to break that. And if you can break that, it's possible to win New Hampshire and maybe break in other places as well. But I mean, if you're in Iowa, if he's a big deal, people in Iowa know that he's a big deal. But bragging to everyone else that he's a kingmaker, this just doesn't appeal to me. I don't know if that appeals to anyone else. Like, oh, this big deal. I guess I'm not into endorsements like that. I know endorsements. I think if someone personally, and they tell you, hey, you should check out this person, then and you don't know them, then yeah, you would listen to their 2 cents about it. But I mean, I think mostly people respect endorsements or will go by endorsements only if they haven't done the thorough research into a person themselves. So I know endorsements is a big game to folks, and People want to make it seem like they're so invincible. Trump likes really endorsing people and bragging like, "Oh, I made this person." Which, by the way, he the other day he was like, "I got Chuck Grassley elected." People are like, "Are you kidding me? Chuck Grassley doesn't need you." But Trump likes to, if someone he endorses doesn't win, it's, he doesn't want to talk about it too much. But if he, said endorse someone, he's big bragging about it, even if his endorsement wasn't a make or break for them, because people want to exert that sort of authority, because money and influence and power is everything in the game of politics. But as far as like in the evangelical sphere and getting access to kind of their network of enthused people who will caucus and persuade people, it's an important endorsement if it's going to activate other people on the ground who can go convince those Trump voters who are open to DeSantis being their number 2 pick to make that switch. So it is an important endorsement that the Trump team is downplaying. And not only if they had downplayed it, that would be fine. If they had just ignored it, that would have been great. But they've gone this extra step, and they have decided to smear Bob Vander Plaats. Now, I have never met Plaats. I don't think I've ever been maybe in the same vicinity as this man, like in the same building. I don't know if we've been in a state at the same time before, but so I don't know this man other than he endorses people. He's big in the evangelical sphere. He has this family leadership, summit organization and stuff like that. So I can't speak to his character or whatever. But they're saying that Ron DeSantis paid for the endorsement, and the Trump, influencers are picking that up. They're making stories about that. Trump himself, they sent out press releases, and they are going with that narrative. And I think it's pretty dishonest, especially what they're using as their evidence for this. So, I mean, I know a lot of inside baseball about different political events and other things, but Bob Vander Plaats, and so the S they've replaced with a $sign. How clever! Endorses a candidate who will never be president. Over 150 faith leaders in Iowa are organizing their congregations for President Trump, and not a single one demanded nearly $100K like Bob Vander Plaats did from Ron DeSantis. When you are actually the leader of a movement like President Trump is, people are willing to support you for free. Kim Reynolds' endorsement won't save Ron DeSantis, and neither will Vander Plaats' endorsement. And so the other day, he put out a video just to diss Kim Reynolds, the governor of Iowa. And he did not have like his usual like caked on orange foundation. People as usual, he looked a little different in the video. And I'm like, you made a video just to diss the governor of Iowa and claim she's the most unpopular governor in the country, which isn't true. And the Trump War Room that put it out actually got a community note on X/Twitter. So they go on and they quote a Reuters article about Vander Plaats and money that was spent at the super PAC and stuff. So I've read the Reuters article, and you guys can go look that up. And even Vander Plaats suggested people read it. But here's a snippet of an interview that he had with Brett Baer, where people are like, aha, he admitted that he took the money.
About the money thing. This is, I think, from a Reuters article in which it said that DeSantis campaign, a super PAC linked to him, a nonprofit group supporting him, together paid $95,000 in recent months to the Family Leader Foundation, according to campaign finance reports in a document prepared by an Iowa state lawmaker who was helping Vander Plaats' organization raise money for the July 14th presidential candidate forum. So is that not true, or that's true?
Well, it's definitely true, and I'd encourage everybody to read the Reuters article. Everything we do is above board, and
Yeah, so that's a snippet that everyone is like circulating around, be like, aha, he admitted that he took the money, that it's all true, that he got paid off. And I'm like, he said that they do everything above board, that his organization did get money, but for a particular event, it was a candidate forum situation, and Tucker Carlson was the main, he was the one who was moderating, and Trump didn't attend the event at all. So, and you didn't need to pay to go there. But the 95,000, it wasn't directly out of like Ron's pocket or directly out of like the Ron DeSantis campaign. 25,000 was for like a sponsorship where you get advertisement like in the booklets and access to other things as well. And not only did Ron DeSantis pay it, but also Tim Scott paid it, and so did Vivek Ramaswamy. And there was another group that was a nonprofit that, but I guess is pro DeSantis or whatever, that paid $20,000 for a table, and I don't know some other stuff, but a table. And the Never Back Down, the super PAC that is pro Ron DeSantis, the main super PAC, did end up paying like $50,000. So you're probably like, whoa, those are some big numbers. And yeah, they are. But this is a organization that has a lot of pull. That with the person who's hosting it has a lot of pull. He has a lot of access to voters that these people want. People treat Iowa very well in the primary because it's like the first. So everyone wants to set the standard of how the primaries are going to go. So they get a lot of attention from candidates, a lot of events and so on, a lot of wooing that other states don't get. And it's a very evangelical, focus sort of state with the caucusing and primaries and stuff. And he had access to about 2,000 evangelicals. It costs to put on these events. Now, there's other things that go on in Iowa that sponsorships are a lot less expensive. But think about costs of venue. They have dinners and other things like that. Cost of food, the cost for travel, the cost for that you pay staff, or even if there's a lot of volunteers, things that you might pay for volunteers, t-shirts and travel and food and other things like that. Different promotion for the events, advertisements, because you don't want to have an event and then not have enough people come, and then you're in some kind of hole. So you want to make sure that you're making up your costs. And if you can make up your costs with donors or people paying different sponsorship level things in advance, then that's what you would like to do. So taking this out of the big like fee price tags that you're hearing with 20,000 this, $25,000 that, I just want to let you know that organizations all the time have events that they put on and that they have sponsorships for, and you get gold sponsorship, silver, platinum, all kinds of stuff. And it's from like Christmas parties to candidate forums to all sorts of different events that people will have during primary season, holidays, any sort of thing that you could think of. Political organizations will have different sponsorship levels, and they will ask candidates, they'll ask local parties, they'll ask local Republicans or Democrats, like it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter, but both, I'm assuming both sides of the aisle does it, they'll ask donors, all kinds of people, from Lincoln Days to Christmas parties, anything. People will ask candidates and other groups if they want to sponsor. And you probably expect that if you're going to have, you're throwing these political events and you have people who are coming to political events, because that's not something that the average person does. So if someone cares enough to go to pay to be at political events, they're probably a pretty engaged voter, and they're probably not everybody goes out and votes in a primary. So if people are willing to do that, then those are probably voters that will go out and caucus or whatnot. So candidates, yes, not only will they want to go, and you don't have to be charged to go there normally, but sometimes, especially like if you're on the schedule to speak or something, but sometimes you got to pay to get there and get a ticket like everybody else. But if you can have a 2-page spread in a booklet, have your name at the table, have your lid at the table, have a table in the back with your stuff in it, with people, volunteers passing out different stuff. You want that chance to persuade and to make people feel like, I care about your organization. I'm doing my darndest to try to earn your vote. So people want that visibility. People want that visibility. So this going on with Vander Plaats and his organization in Iowa, and the candidates paying for like advertisement and other stuff, that is not out of the ordinary. It is so common. It is so common. Are those price tags common? Depends. Like a lot of local stuff, no, they don't have those big price tags because they don't require those sorts of costs, I assume. I don't know how much they pay Tucker Carlson, but I can tell you Tucker Carlson is expensive. And I don't know exact figures. But a lot of the people that you watch, even like Charlie Kirk and other folks like that, they can come with big price tags. And we're talking anywhere from 4 to 6 figures. And Tucker, I would assume, is leaning more toward the 6 part. So if you have to pay all your stuff for your venue, your food, and all that stuff, plus the speaker, or I mean the he was asking the questions or whatever, I'm assuming, though sometimes speakers do it out of the kindness of their hearts if they find an organization that's worth doing that for, a cause worth doing that for. But a lot of people, you fly them out there, and maybe you got to pay to fly them out there sometimes. You might need big sponsorships to make sure that your costs are all covered, because at the end of the day, you don't know how many might buy a ticket, because a lot of people are last minute folks. So you want to really hedge your bets with the sponsorships. And of course, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you are not losing money, but you're net positive. So Trump going after Vander Plaats with this line of attack, when again, it's so common. I don't like it. Now, maybe the average person who doesn't go to a bunch of political events or doesn't volunteer for any, or have never had to arrange and run one, maybe it sounds like a good attack and a good smear, and people are falling for it. But from my perspective, being within the political world, I think it's a pretty shady attack and really dishonest, to be frank. Again, I don't know anything about Vander Plaats, integrity and morals. And I mean, I know he's a Christian and what he ought to be like espousing and stuff. I don't know, but I can say just in general, and they say it's above board, it seems pretty common. And I could tell you, there was the event that we brought in, like the Brighter Michigan pack. I have no idea how much Tucker was. I don't know numbers like that, but I can tell you, and it's on the website, so I don't think this is a big deal to say this, but at least one of the biggest sponsorship package that was available was like 25,000. So it's not so inconceivable to have a big candidate forum where you're going to have all these active, not just vote the caucus goers and stuff, and if you want access to that you pay different stuff, and then you get different perks as well, like VIP things, different dinners and stuff. And if you buy a table for an event, you are bringing in people to like be at that table, and whatever perks that usually comes along with it or whatever. So sometimes, and then it'll be cheaper sometimes to buy a whole entire table as well. I don't know what all the whole cost or whatever what the table was, but at the special events. But the first Lincoln dinner that my family went to, I guess we had enough people that we could buy a whole table, but it was cheaper than, everybody buying an individual ticket. And actually, I think my uncle we were going through a really rough time financially, my family, at the that time. And my uncle helped us to go. And Trump was a speaker there, and we were excited. This was back in when Romney was going up against Obama. And so I was huge Apprentice fan, and I wanted to go, and I wanted to see Trump. And I still remember the dress that I had. I got some Swarovski earrings, and even though things were really rough, I wanted to make sure that I looked good that night. It was like just enjoy kind of the atmosphere. And it was a nice, that wasn't the intro to our like political scene, but I guess that was the first like big event we went to besides like before that we went to like a debate watch party. And then after that, we started getting emails, and they're like, Trump's going to be at the Lincoln Day dinner. And we're like, oh my gosh, we love Trump. We're like, that would be really cool to go to. And so we made that happen. So anyway, sometimes organizations will buy whole tables, and they'll stock it with, people within that organization or volunteers or, I don't know, elected people, whoever they want to. But it's buying tables and all that stuff. It's really common. Are those price tags common for those kinds of events? I'm sure. So I don't like this line of attack from Trump. I really don't. And I'm just always trying to be fair and say my 2 cents. Happy Thanksgiving. I see that in the comments. Happy Thanksgiving to all you guys as well. But I don't like it. I think that it would have been in Trump's best interest to simply just not mention the endorsement at all. And I don't think that's a hard ask. And I don't understand why he can't just zip it. I don't understand why he can't just ignore the Kim Reynolds endorsement, other than the fact that he's upset because he didn't get it, which Vander Plaats did clap back, and he was like, Trump, better than anyone that my endorsement isn't for sale, implying that Trump tried to buy it. And Kim Reynolds, let it be known that Trump tried to get her endorsement too. So, which isn't so crazy, because why wouldn't you want someone of influence to help you seal the deal? But one thing you guys have to know about endorsements overall is that sometimes people just use the endorsements to bully you and manipulate you into not thinking things through at all and researching. They're just trying to wrap things up. I told a story the other day, perhaps it was Monday, about the whole ordeal with my sister when she ran for party chair and how they had endorsements and other things lined up. And people may not even want to support the person that they are endorsing, but sometimes people feel like they have to do it, that they're doing it politically for political power moves, not because they necessarily think it's the best person for the job. So if you're in Iowa or wherever, I encourage you to just look at their platforms and look at their records, because most of these people are governors and Trump's president, et cetera, or what. No matter if it's a Republican primary or whoever, just in life, look at the records of the individuals as much as possible and make an educated decision on whether they are the best person. It's nice if you like them, But ask yourself, is this really the best person, and can they win? Are they the best person who can win? And go from there. It is impressive when someone has a list of people like, oh, this person endorsement, this person endorsement, this person, etc. And we tend to trust people, and and be like, oh, I should go along with what they said. But there's a lot of games that people play with these endorsements. So at the end of the day, you are the voter. You get to make the decision. The power is in your hands. So I ask that you make an educated one, no matter who you choose. If Trump is so far ahead in the polls, which he is, he could just cool it. He could really just pump his brakes, slow his roll, and ignore the noise, push forward, and win Iowa. But I don't like to make big predictions or whatever, and so I'm not. Because I don't like to be wrong. But to me, he's acting like he doesn't think he has it in the bag. Because I don't think, frankly, how he's acting is how winners act. So I think he's, as I said, he is petty to the bone, so he's annoyed. But why every attack on Kim Reynolds is just a shot in the foot. People voted for her by a lot. People like their governor, and people can respect that people that they like disagree with someone else that they also like. But when you decide to go out of your way, make special videos, not just post on Truth Social, but make specialized videos to trash the person that they like, that's when people start getting really frustrated and they don't want to support you anymore. So just pump the brakes and be gracious with the people who support you, and ignore the people who don't. And maybe you can, change your mind or whatever, but you guys just have to focus on the people who you can persuade. And what's funny about this is that Trump has a lot of people in Florida, where DeSantis is the governor, who will be on his side, on Trump's side. And they were at some kind of big event in Florida, and he had people from Florida who were elected officials who supported him, and just flex them on stage. He brought people from Florida out to Iowa to flex that, hey, people from DeSantis' own state are supporting me over him. And I don't know how much of that is people really, 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 really just saying that Trump has to be the guy, or how much people are factoring they don't want to lose access and they're concerned about how the base will react to them. So I don't know how much people are thinking about how much they genuinely want this man to be president again, or how much they feel like they have a gun to their head in some sense. And the more that Trump acts like a mob boss when people don't do what he says, and he sees it as some kind of betrayal, and he has to, like, I don't know, destroy them or something, I guess it solidifies those feelings more. So just chill the heck out and be thankful. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. Be thankful to the millions and millions and millions of people who love you and support you and genuinely want you to be back in office, in the Oval Office. And don't sweat about Bob Vander Plaats and Kim Reynolds and Ron DeSantis. Just run your race. Remind people why you are great at what you did and why you need another term, and why you can do it. Not just that you want to and you did a good job, but you can, like, do the job. But one thing I think that makes people really, really not want to support Trump is the drama. Like, people are over the drama. So don't be the drama. That's my advice, that I'm sure he will never hear. But he can leave. He can take it or not, which I'm sure that he probably won't. Last thing I want to talk about before I let you guys go. I know I'm over on the hour, but I mentioned it yesterday. Well, I referenced it yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to talk about it. There was a meme that someone that I follow shared, and I don't think she made this meme. I don't know where it came from originally, but and I think I've seen this before, but it was, I want to kill disabled people on the meme, and the pro-choicers with the pitchforks, and they're like, before they're born, and all of a sudden the people with the pitchforks are happy. So I wanted to talk about this because this is really true. And there's this person who I follow on TikTok, and she has a, beautiful toddler. His name is Ollie, and she's from the UK. And Ollie, he runs, he plays, he's a happy little boy. He's much like other little boys, except that he does have a prosthetic foot, and or prosthetic. I don't remember how short the leg is, but the reason why is because when his mother was pregnant, and by this time Ollie was viable, if I can remember everything correctly, they discovered that he had a deformity. So his foot was like this, all kind of shriveled up. And they're like, oh, we don't know if he's ever going to be able to walk, and et cetera, et cetera. And they're just like, you can terminate. And she didn't want to do that. And the doctor, I guess, kind of mentioned that she was single and how are you going to take care of her baby, and coercing her. She said she felt coerced, and she didn't appreciate it. And she kind of felt a bit bullied, and she had her baby, and they did a surgery, and they cut off the deformed foot, and they gave him a prosthetic, and he's living his life pretty normally, all things considered. And it's pretty awful that if there's something wrong to that effect, that there's an instinct for doctors to be like, you can get rid of it, right? That's really disturbing. So that I immediately thought of that story when I saw this meme here, because again, it is true. And there's a lot of people who will talk about, if you talk about abortion, people say, well, late term only happens very, very, very rare, very rarely. And if they do it, it's only because of medical dire situations. And man, that's a lot of wishful thinking. I mean, it does happen rarely compared to all the other abortions that happen. But in the US, if there's about 1 million a year, and I don't know, it was 1% or over 1% or something, you're talking still thousands of babies, right? So that's bad. I think it's bad. We turn the whole world upside down because of less than 20 people getting shot by police, Black people specifically getting unarmed shot, Black people getting shot by police, which people aren't aware that the number was that small. But I'm not trying to minimize when the cops screw up and someone dies tragically, and just for the record, just because you are unarmed doesn't mean that you are not dangerous, or which was trying to steal a weapon, or I don't know, all kinds of different scenarios can happen. Maybe they thought you had one, or etc. But obviously people remember what 2020 was like, and the BLM riots and all that stuff. People were very passionate about the deep injustices of our system. And in reality, there were some people who thought the numbers were in the thousands, even 10,000, unarmed Black people being shot by police. And the number is up less than 20, or around 20 or something like that. I've shown this graph before, but the highlights in 2019, people, unarmed Black men killed by police. And again, some people thought the number was more than 10,000. Now, if you thought the number was more than 10,000, or even in the thousands, or even hundreds, I could understand you being really alarmed at the state of affairs. And that doesn't mean that beyond people being shot by unarmed people being shot by police, that there's not other issues with police brutality that need to be dealt with. That's not what I'm saying. But with that particular issue, people obviously had a skewed perception that fueled how they reacted in 2020. But if we're killing thousands of babies that are, I could feel pain or and other stuff, or perhaps conscious. Is that a lot, or is that not a lot? Is because I don't know if people are kind of perceiving things when DeSantis was people are having abortions, or Democrats are for abortions up until the moment of birth, and they'll automatically dismiss it like, oh no, late term abortions are very rare. Like only 1.3% happen after, I don't know if it's week 21 or whatever, but that's what they keep saying. That's a lot. That's a big number. That's a big number still. So you can say that it's rare compared to all the other abortions, sure, but it's like, what is the amount of babies that can perhaps be conscious and feel pain that is okay to you? And the response might be, well, they're always just extreme medical heartbreaking circumstances. Like you found out the baby's foot is like that? You found out that your baby has Down syndrome? You found out that maybe their heart's not going to be as great as other kids, but they could still have a good life if you show them a lot of love and care? Because some people might be thinking like the baby is incompatible, like their brain didn't form all the way and they're going to die as soon as they make it out of the womb, and there's no reason why they should even be alive right now, and they should have miscarried, but they didn't, and as soon as they exit, they're going to die. And there's very heartbreaking stories that I've read about those situations happening. But just because people say health doesn't mean that the mother's in some kind of life danger, or doesn't mean that the baby is incompatible with life either. It could just mean that literally perhaps there's a disability there. So I just wanted to put that into perspective, because a lot of people refuse to kind of think about that, because automatically people, if you talk about the abortion numbers, they'll be like, well, late term abortion is very rare, third trimester. I'm like, I don't like any of them at any point. So I don't know why there's such a focus on the number at the end. However, it's still a lot. And the truth is that women who are healthy will still abort healthy, viable fetuses. There's an article, we went through it at the time when it was new, with Dr. Warren Hearn. He's out of Colorado, and I've mentioned him. Some people are like, I don't even know who that is. Why is he relevant? Because Colorado doesn't have like restrictions like that. He's been operating out of there for a very long time. He's seen a lot of things, and he'll even do like sex selective abortions. And they said, like, yeah, there's women who come there who have like very, very tragic stories and feel like they're aborting their child, and they're like, it's basically a mercy killing. But they said maybe like half of those stories are like that, and that's not the case with other women. I mean, sometimes it's a matter of finances, sometimes it's just a matter of circumstances. Like there's been different research of like women who have late term abortions have them later for similar reasons that women will have them earlier. If you have an abortion at like 12 weeks because your boyfriend broke up with you, is that reason's no longer valid because you're at week 21? I don't think it was a good reason at any time. It's still the same baby. Was your reason just or not just? I didn't think it was just at any point. But are you really going to tell a woman at some later point in time if she's going to be on her own and feels that she really can't do it later when her circumstances change, that she can't get one? And hopefully most people would say no, because there's still the moral consideration of the baby at that point in time. I think we should have that moral consideration earlier. But some people are like, yeah, you're right. Those obstacles may arise, and that's why we need to keep it available, and it's still on the rarer side. But is it right? Is it right? Obviously it's not. But this meme is true. This meme is true about we would have it. We'd be revolted at the idea of committing eugenics on disabled people. But when you find out that your child might have some kind of disability, people do rush to some, I guess, rush. I'm not saying that people aren't devastated and upset, but just because you're upset about something doesn't mean that if you choose to still commit an action that is immoral, that suddenly makes the action better just because you're upset about it. People need to still, in the face of adversity, choose to do the right thing. So I wanted to talk about this because I genuinely see this as being true. And Richard Dawkins, by the way, he got into it on Twitter with some folks because he basically said, like, it's a good thing, I think, to abort children with Down syndrome and other stuff like that. People were so upset with him, and he was like, how can you guys be upset with me over something that women obviously do? So I didn't know that until recently. I found that out because I saw a video of Richard Dawkins talking about morality, and that I guess biblical objective morality is silly, and humans have evolved and we figured out morality. We have a good sense of it. And I'm like, I wonder how he feels about abortion. I Googled it really quick. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, what a very important view that he doubled down on. Let me see if I can find the exact tweet. Richard Dawkins on abortion. There were articles about it. People were mad. He did eventually, I guess, apologize. Richard Dawkins, immoral not to. He said it was immoral not to abort a fetus if it had Down syndrome. I wish I had known about that quote when I wrote my book. Of course, God is blatantly against abortion. I wish I had known. So because someone tweeted him and said, Richard Dawkins, I honestly want to know what I would honestly don't know what I would do if I were pregnant with a kid with Down syndrome. Real ethical dilemma. And he said, abort it and try again. It would be immoral to bring it into the world if you have the choice. Just straight up eugenics, man. But you know what? And some people push back against this meme, saying that Canada is kind of testing the limits of this because Canada is pushing more eugenics and stuff, and the people who qualify it for it keeps getting bigger. So yeah, perhaps people will just be okay the entire time, and the pitchfork people will never be upset in this meme. But just wanted to share some thoughts, some gruesome thoughts with you before I leave you before Thanksgiving. So anyway, I just want to say thank you guys very much for joining me, not just today, but in general. Those of you who are viewing every day, and those of you who are checking to make sure you're still subscribed. I saw there was someone in my comments yesterday who said that they keep getting unsubscribed. So make sure that you are subscribed, that you're hitting the notification bells, and I do appreciate everyone who watches, everyone who comments, everyone who encourages other people to watch. And I know not everyone could watch it live because they're at work. I know people watch it back later. I know people like to share reels, and I know some of my reels have been picked up by much bigger creators. And a friend of mine who's a mutual on Twitter actually sent me a message the other day of a big content creator who shared my stuff, and it's really nice. And I've had a lot of growth since this time last year. I know that I talk about things that not my audiences always agree with me on, and many of you have stayed, some have left, and that's fine. But I have said up front, like, I'm gonna always be true to me. I have a bias. I'll try to be fair to people, especially like in the primary season and stuff. There are things that I like and don't like about, I guess, everyone who's running. But I started the episode defending Trump, and then I had to have some words about him after, within the same time span. So I'm just trying to be as honest as possible with how I feel and what I think and what I know with you guys. And you could and I'm grateful for our respectful dialogue that we generally have. Sometimes I could be I am very sarcastic, and at times I can write things and perhaps they come out quite sharp. Um, that's not sometimes it's my intention. I'm not gonna say it's always my intention, but I thank you guys for being understanding and having a good conversation with me. Even people who tend to disagree with me on different issues like abortion and so on are pretty genuinely respectful. And I do get people who are overly confident and not rightfully earned in different conversations that we have. But we still have I will engage, and if I ever feel like it's not worth it, I guess I'll stop at that point. But I've really enjoyed doing what I do, the highs and the lows of it. But I just thank you guys. So I just started that rant to say I am thankful this Thanksgiving season for you, for choosing me to listen to, because there's a lot of different commentators out there giving their opinions. People with fancier kind of backdrops, and I actually don't have one. I suppose I could work on that, but you know, producers and so on, and it's me. It's just me. I thank you for your patience. I know sometimes people write on different messages on different things, and I can't always get to everyone because it is just me. But I just thank you on this journey, and I hope that it continues to grow, and I hope you'll stay with me, and I appreciate you bringing other people to me. I thank everyone who's gone the extra mile and donated online at blacktnews.com. People who gave when I went to March for Life, and I got to take my sister last year, and hopefully um but I'm grateful to you guys for that. People who've given after reading different articles and posts, and at times when I've said there's a need, people being there and going the extra mile with that. It's really, really helped. It does cost a stream and run my website, all this stuff. So I thank you. I thank you to people who've bought merchandise. I thank you to people who've read my books. My books are so personal to me. You pour your heart, so much of your heart into these projects, whether it's the fiction books. I'm so glad that people like Super Kid and other stuff that I've written. I put so much of my heart into my abortion book, and really tried to tackle the subject very compassionately and firmly, because I do believe it is a great evil, but I do believe that I want healing and restoration for the women who have been lured into this particular ideology. It's pretty much like a religion, man. So I took a lot of time and care as I was making that. So I thank you to everyone who bought that, who enjoyed it, and people who engaged in the conversations. Again, even people who disagreed, because a lot of my thoughts and have been formed around me combating different people saying stuff and having conversations. I'm grateful to you guys for being more open with the people around you and having conversations with the outside world, because we can talk to each other till they're blue in the face online, but we're still in kind of a bit of an echo chamber. We're falling into each other's algorithm, but people vote in the same town that you do. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but those are the people that you need to influence and bring common sense back to. So I thank you guys for having that. Many of you who've talked about how you've opened up and had the courage to talk to your neighbors and family and friends about very important issues, and one person at a time, I think we can bring our country back to sanity. So I don't want to rant too much longer, but I'm grateful to you guys. I'm grateful for my family, for my church, for health. I've been really, getting there, almost over my cold, but yeah, I'm glad I'll be able to spend Thanksgiving with a loving family, and that Friday will be at church. I'm very thankful for what I have in my life, and where I believe that God is taking me, and you guys are part of that journey. So anyway, thank you. And oh, I'm going to share this comment if you don't mind. I think you're very intelligent and informative, and I like how you cover all sides. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you all. Thank you. And I'm not going to do a 100th closing. God bless you guys. And I don't plan to be live again until Monday. I just heard some clicking. Maybe it was my phone. But I don't know. I might do something over the weekend. I'm going to talk something out with, my sister is having a promotional thing for her art. If you are in the Oakland County area in Michigan, it's going to be like downtown Auburn Hills. It's December the 2nd. I post some of her art sometimes. I'll post another flyer, the flyer again for her stuff. I hope you guys consider going. I had a bit of a panic because I'm like, oh my gosh, is it like next week? Because usually Thanksgiving might fall like at the 28th of November. And I didn't realize we had like still another week of November, but it's getting close. You know, I might, she's talked about maybe doing something, some kind of interview or something with her. So I don't know if I'll do this week or next week. So I might record something else this weekend, but for like regular Black tea news, won't have anything tomorrow, won't have anything Friday, though I do have a video that I will be posting this weekend after I edit it. I already filmed it. So stay on the lookout for that. Someone else said, thank you for my channel. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you very much to you all again. Into the announcements. God bless. And I'll see you Monday.